All right. Howdy. Hello. How we doing? How we feeling? Good to see you. Good to be back. Welcome to the show. My name is Jimmy Moreland. I'm an audiobook narrator, voiceover producer, and music producer, and we're back on the show. It's been a minute. It's been a little while, but I tell you what, we're going to be doing some lovely audiobook narration today. We're going to jump right into it. Here's what we're going to be seeing today. Pro Tools on the right. And you know what? That's all we're going to be seeing, because I'm not going to have the text pulled up on screen, because that ain't what we do. We're going to be narrating a really fun audiobook today. This is USS Thunderhead 2. It is book 18 in the USS Hamilton series. Really fun series that the first 6 books were actually narrated by 2 different narrators. And then from book 7 onward, I've been narrating it. And it's a really fun series by Mark Wayne McGinnis. Really lovely author to be working with. I'm really happy to have the series. And the story follows the exploits of Galvin Quintos, captain of the U.S. Space Navy, and all-around funny guy, and all the hijinks he gets up to. So USS Thunderhead 2, it is the first time in the series that they've done at least a named, direct sequel. The whole thing, it is sort of a sequential series, but it's the first time they've ever just slapped a 2 on the end of a book. And I've already narrated chapter 1, so we're jumping in with chapter 2, and I do that because I make some deals with the rights holders, the authors and so forth of the books that I do on live stream. And one of the deals is that I'm not going to give you the whole book on stream. And I'm not going to give you too big of a chunk in one go. Today we are going to try to get through 2 big fat chapters right here on the stream. So that's the one thing, is that I'm not going to give you big, giant bites of the series all in one go on the stream. And then also, I don't put the text up on screen, because sometimes some of these manuscripts that I get sent to narrate from, they're not publish ready. Sometimes there are notes from the author in the margins, and there are formatting details that aren't quite publish ready, stuff like that. So I'll be reading off my tablet. For folks that are wondering, I am happy to pause and answer questions about my gear, about software, about the business, as it were. But otherwise, I am just going to be grinding. I'm going to be working today. I've got 2 big fat chapters I want to get through narrating. It's going to take me at least 2 hours to do that. Probably more like 3 once we get down to it. We'll see. And you'll see this is how the sausage made. This is how audiobooks really get made. You'll see all the mistakes I make. I'll be doing punch and roll narration. You'll see what that means, but it's basically meaning I kind of am editing as I go. And then I might do the final pass-through edit on stream, maybe or maybe not. But the real important thing is that I just get the narration done. That's the grind part of the job here. So we are going to be hearing, for your benefit, the loop back is on, so you now might hear a little bit of a delay or an echo or a chorus effect on my voice, and that's just how it's going to be. But we're going to jump right into chapter 2. Let me double check that everything is good on OBS. Looks like we've got audio coming through. Looks like we've got everything good here. Forgive my silly hair. We've got our audiobook. Here's our little tracker. There we go. So this next chapter might take 1:16 to narrate. Might take more or less. We'll find out. All right, without further ado, I'm going to hit the record button, because that's the most important thing. I've got my little timer here, so let's do it. This is chapter 2 of USS Thunderhead 2. Chapter 2. Topiaris, Northern Continent. Shinta Wreckage Field, Sector 7. Captain Galvin Quintos, 3 months earlier. Too fat. Hardy. Look at the waistline on this thing, Cap. I'm not spending the next 300 years looking like a Shinta middle manager. Chronobots don't have waistlines. This one does. I don't know what they were feeding him. Fine, move on. I stood on the ridge above Dome Complex 7, or what was left of it, which was a circle of glass-smooth crater 2 miles across, ringed by the rubble of outbuildings the orbital smooth crater 2 miles across, ringed by the miles across, ringed by the rubble of outbuildings the orbital strikes hadn't bothered to hit because there hadn't been enough of them to hit. Crusaders' bombardment had done its work with the thoroughness of a man who has been told he can use as much salt as he wants. 3 months ago, this had been the largest Shinta ground facility on the northern continent. Now it was a parking lot with opinions. The chronobots that had... Wait, what? What is this? The chronobots that had survived it, and survived was a word... Interesting. It was a parking lot with opinions. The chronobots that had survived it. And survived was a word doing a lot of work in that sentence. They had been the ones standing outside the domes when the strikes came down. Perimeter patrols, loading operations, a maintenance crew by the look of things, because 14 of them had been standing in a loose cluster around a piece of Shinta heavy equipment when the sky fell in on them. And they had gone down more or less in a circle, the way bowling pins go down when somebody throws a strike, which is how Hardy and I found them 2 days ago. 23 total across the 4 sites we'd walked. 23 chassis in various states of repair, most of them destroyed beyond any reasonable reclamation. A handful a handful still structurally beyond any reasonable reclamation. We need to reread that as well. In various states of repair, most of them destroyed beyond any reasonable reclamation. A handful still structurally destroyed beyond any reasonable reclamation. Reasonable reclamation. A handful still structurally together, and exactly 2 so far that Hardy had not immediately dismissed on aesthetic grounds. Both of those 2 were also now dismissed on aesthetic grounds. Both of those 2 were also now rejected. We've been doing this for 2 days. I am aware. Gilbert has sent 4 messages. 5 messages, yes, thank you. 5 messages from... 5 messages, yes. Thank you. 5 messages from our... 5 messages from a rear admiral who would like to stop using his newest Omninaut for a personal shopping trip. Cap, look at me. I turned around. Hardy stood 10 feet behind me. 7 feet of scarred Dreadbot chassis with a chrome chronobot head bolted onto the shoulders through an interface collar Dorota had fabricated. We gotta fix this little edit point here. There and there. That should be good to go. Let's listen. 5 messages. Yes, thank you. 5 messages from a rear admiral who... All right. Head bolted onto the shoulders through an interface. Cool. Head bolted onto the shoulders through an interface collar Dorota had fabricated in 90 minutes aboard Crusader 2 months ago. The collar was holding most of the time. When Hardy tilted his head even slightly, the head tilted a quarter second after the rest of him did, like a man whose lip sync had drifted out of phase with the rest of the broadcast, which gave him the appearance of a robot whose neck was not quite attached to anything below it, which was because it wasn't. This was Turnpike's body. Hardy had been wearing it since the dismemberment. The arrangement was supposed to be temporary, and it had been temporary the way most things in my life were. The arrangement was supposed to be temporary, and had been. The arrangement was supposed to be temporary, and it had been temporary the way most things in my life were temporary, which was to say for longer than anyone had planned for, and considerably longer than was good for anybody involved. Cap, he said. I'm going to be in this thing for the next 300 years. Cap, he said. I'm going to be in this thing for the next 300 years. Maybe 4, maybe 5, if the new one has it. Next 300 years. Maybe 4, Maybe 5 if the new one has a good power core. That's longer than toenail fungus lasts. I'm asking you, begging you, to let me find one I don't hate. Hardy, one I can look in the mirror at. One that isn't shaped like a pear. That one wasn't shaped like a pear. Cap, it was pear-shaped. Pristy herself would have said it was pear-shaped. Nah. Cap, it was pear-shaped. Pristy herself would have said it. Nah. Cap, it was pear-shaped. Pristy herself would have said it. Cap, it was pear-shaped. Pristy herself would have said it was pear-shaped. Pristy is an adult who wouldn't have commented on the body shape of a dead chronobot. Pristy would have looked at the thing and said, Hardy is not wearing that. Behind me, Blunderton made a small sound. I didn't turn around to look at her. I already knew what her face was doing because I'd been learning what her face did for about the last 6 weeks, and I'd reached the point where I could identify her expressions by the sound of her trying not to have them, the way a man identifies birds by the way the leaves move. This was... Wait, what is this? Is this her monologue? What is this? This one was small. This one was the... Okay. Birds by the way the leaves move. This one was the small sound that meant, I'm a professional U.S. Space Navy officer, and I'm not laughing. Lieutenant, I said, without turning. The officer, and I'm not laughing. Lieutenant? Lieutenant. Officer, and I'm not laughing. Lieutenant, I said, without turning. Sir. Do you have something to contribute? No, sir. You sure about that? Very, sir. Very sure, sir. Whoa. You sure about that? Very, sir. Very sure, sir. You sure about that? Very sure, sir. Thank you, Lieutenant. You're welcome, sir. She stood at my 5 o'clock with her shredder slung across her chest, hand resting on the barrel the way it did when she'd decided she'd been still for long enough. Dark hair pulled back in the regulation pin she never quite got straight. Smoke-colored eyes watching the debris field. Pin she never quite got straight. Smoke-colored eyes watching the debris field with the patient focus of someone who would rather be doing literally anything than standing on the top. Of someone who would rather be doing anything. Of someone who would rather be doing literally anything than standing on a topiaran ridge listening to a chronobot evaluate corpses on the basis of aesthetic merit. She hadn't been looking at me when I'd started turning, and she wasn't looking at me now. I'd been finding more reasons to include her in ground ops than the ground ops quickly. I'd been finding more reasons to include her in ground ops than the ground ops strictly required. I'd been telling myself the reasons were tactical. I was so far the only one I was telling myself the reasons were tactical. I was, so far, the only one I was fooling, which was the kind of self-deception that worked for about as long as a paper umbrella in a rainstorm. Galvin. How is he yelling? What is he doing here? Like a flag at half-staffed. Okay. We're going to say not panicked, but a little bit of a shout. It's a paper umbrella in a rainstorm. Galvin! Dorota came jogging up the ridge trail, lab coat flapping behind him like a flag at half-staff, tablet clutched to his chest like a man who has been told he is... Tablet clutched to his chest like a man who has been told he is going to be tested on it. He didn't jog well. He'd been built for laboratories, not inclines. The orange-brown streak on the hem of his coat had been joined by 2 new ones, one of which I was fairly sure was blood, though whose blood I couldn't have guessed, and wasn't sure I wanted to ask. Stefan, I have something to report. Does it involve Hardy's body? It does. Then I want to hear it. I've run compatibility scans on every available... Okay, real quick. I know that we've got 0 or 1 viewers, but so audiobooks, real important note. Audiobooks are about the last remaining, I don't want to say bastion, but avenue, the last remaining place where actors, it's appropriate, in fact, it's required that you're going to have to do some kind of accent or characterization work that is otherwise not really okay to do nowadays. In commercial, in animation to a large extent, you just, especially if you look like me, if you're a fucking white guy, you are not going to be doing, voices far outside of your sort of racial sphere of influence, if you will. It's 2026. You just don't do that in commercial and animation and things like that. Audiobooks, however, it's impossible to avoid that kind of conflict because you're doing dozens, sometimes 100 characters in a single book, and so it's impossible in a non-multicast situation. It's impossible to find the one single voice that is culturally appropriate to voice every single other voice that might come up in an audiobook. Especially in a series as long as this one. This is book 18 of the series. It's impossible to find the one voice where no one is going to have a cultural sort of sensitivity or taboo. However, that does mean that as a narrator, you need to approach all of these voices with respect, with dignity, with some cultural information. You need to do some studying. You need to respect and understand as well as you're able the culture of the character that you are portraying. So, for example, this character here, Stefan Dorota, is from Mumbai, India. I am not doing a full-on Apu from The Simpsons. I am doing what I hope is a character with some nuance. This is taking place in the 22nd century. Mumbai doesn't sound the same in the 22nd century as it does in the 20th century. And so this being sci-fi, you're able to make some interpretations there that hopefully give you a little bit of leniency. And obviously the character himself, he's a brilliant scientist. He's a double PhD. And he's got his own personality. And so hopefully that's what I'm reflecting here in my interpretation of this character. There may be a character later who is also from India, but a different part. I'm pretty sure she's Gujarati, which is even further west in India. But all that to say, don't come at me about voicing a character of Indian descent here, because this is my job, and this is one of those cases where it is okay and even necessary for an actor to portray someone outside of their sort of racial background. Okay, enough of that. Let's see where we are. I have something to report. Does it involve Hardy's body? It does. Then I want to hear it. Okay, we'll start there. Hardy's body? It does. Then I want to hear it. I've run compatibility scans on every viable chassis in this field. And? Galvin, they are, as a matter of manufacturing fact, identical. I looked at Hardy. His faceplate lit up. I looked at Hardy. His faceplate lit up with the 3D John Hardy face he defaulted to when he wanted to be read. Balding, unshaven, currently arranged into the expression that meant, I am not hearing this. Stefan, Hardy said. Buddy, pal, walk with me a minute. Hardy. Let's reread that. Stefan, Hardy said. Buddy, pal, walk with me a minute. Hardy, Stefan. So who's saying Hardy there? That still seems like Galvin and not Stefan there. Yeah. Hardy, Stefan. Walk with me a minute. Hardy, Stefan. These are not identical. He swept an arm across the crater floor. There we go. These are not identical. He swept an arm across the crater floor, the plasma cannon tracking his gesture with a 2-second delay that made Ham behind me flinch and swear. These are individual chronobots. They have dignity. They have Baron. They are a production run. Baron. They are a production run unit with a factory tolerance of plus or minus. Let's read this better. Baron. They are a production run unit with a factory tolerance of plus or minus. They have Baron, Stefan. Blunderton made the small sound again. I let the silence run for a beat. Hardy, I said, show me one you haven't seen yet. Cap. Show me one you haven't seen yet. Cap. One chassis, one look. If it's wrong, we move on. If it's right, we take it, we go home, and I apologize to Gilbert in person while he's yelling at me. What if the next one is better? This is not a shopping trip. But I am shopping. You are claiming a body from a battlefield. I'm shopping on a battlefield, Cap. It's a whole new retail category. Okay, we've got our clip indicator doo-doo. Okay. Let's scroll and find out where we clipped. I hope it's that ending part there. Is it here? Nope. We got a flat top right there. Unfortunate. Actually, can I just replace it with that? I can. Easy peasy. Seen yet. Cap. One chassis. Cool, yeah. Cap. One chassis. One look. If it's wrong, we move on. Okay. This also is a flat top. Yep, that's a clip there. Is this, though? I don't think it is. Nah, that one's good. Okay. Shopping on a battlefield, Cap. It's a whole new retail category. All right. Hold on. Ugh. Yeah, we'll come back to here. Claiming a body from a battlefield. I'm shopping on a battlefield, Cap. It's a whole new retail category. Somebody should write a business plan. Hawk, from the high ground, lost it for about 3 seconds and tried to cover it with a cough. Max, on the extraction lane, had his mouth set in the particular line that meant he was not going to laugh in front of the captain, but had resigned himself to remembering this for the rest of his... natural life and probably most of his unnatural one. Ham had given up pretending 20 minutes ago and was now openly grinning at the crater floor like a kid at a parade. Hardy turned and started down into the crater, Dorota jogging after him with the tablet out, and Blunderton and I were left standing on the ridge like a pair of parents watching their adult son shop for a used car they were going to have to pay for. She didn't move. I didn't move. "Sir, permission to speak freely?" "Granted." "He's going to reject that one, too." "Oh, I know." "You're going to let him?" "I am." "Gilbert's going to relieve you of command." I need to listen to the opening part of this. Come back up. But had resigned himself to remembering this for the rest of his natural life, and probably most of his unnatural life, and probably most of his... That's fine. The word probably, don't get too hung up on it, you know? "Gilbert's going to relieve you of command." "Gilbert's going to relieve you of command?" "Possibly." She didn't turn to look at me. I didn't turn to look at her. We both stood there looking at the crater, which was a perfectly safe thing to look at, because a crater could not look back, and a crater did not have opinions about how much room two people were leaving between them. "He's been wearing the wrong body for months, sir," she said. "He has?" "That's worth another day of Gilbert." "It is, Lieutenant." "That's worth another day of Gilbert." "It is, Lieutenant." Her shoulder was not quite touching mine. Close enough. Shoulder was not quite touching mine. Close enough that I could feel the almost, which is a thing I had not felt since I was about 17 years old, standing next to Mary Ellen Meckelberg at a 4-H fair and feeling, in retrospect, very nearly the same thing. Down in the crater, Hardy had stopped in front of a chassis in the lee of what used to be a Shinta equipment shed. He was not moving. Dorota had come up behind him and was also not moving. Tablet was not quite touching mine. Close enough that I could feel Here we go. Got to make this edit here. There. I was about 17 years old, standing next to Mary Ellen Meckelberg at a 4-H fair. Meckelberg? In retrospect. Mecklenburg, shit. Since I was about 17 years old, I didn't realize Adam Werner stopped by. Adam, bro, what is up? Why did he get it? Did he get a notice? Hold on. I might have to email Adam. Let's see here. What a fucking goober. There we go. Always good to see a fellow narrator. When was that? 1:02 p.m. So, a while back. All right. I was about 17 years old, standing next to Mary Ellen Mecklenburg. I was about 17 years old, standing next to Mary Ellen Mecklenburg at a 4-H fair and feeling, in retrospect, very nearly the same thing. Down in the crater, Hardy had stopped in front of a chassis in the lee of what used to be a Shinta equipment shed. He was not moving. Dorota had come up behind him and was also not moving. Tablet lowered, the readings apparently having stopped being the most interesting thing happening on this ridge. Hardy's head tilted forward. The rest of him tilted forward a quarter second later, correcting. He stood like that for a long time. "Stefan," he said. "Yes, Hardy?" "This one." I started down the ridge. The chassis on the ground was, to my untrained eye, identical to 20 others on the crater floor. 7 feet of production standard chrome, limbs arranged in the configuration of a soldier who had fallen forward and not tried to get up. The faceplate was clean, both arms present. One precise hole at the base of the neck where a rail spike had severed the neural relay cleanly enough that the body had gone down before it had known it was dead. A good death for a chronobot. The kind of death the ones at the surgeon's table tell their grandkids about, if surgeons told stories and chronobots had grandkids, neither of which was true, but the principle stood. "Why this one, Hardy?" He didn't answer immediately. Hardy not answering immediately was a rare enough thing that I waited. "He's the cleanest kill on the field for the one." "He's the cleanest kill on the field for one. Rail spike at the relay. Everything below the neck is factory." "Relay. Everything." "He's the cleanest kill on the field for one. Rail spike at the relay. Everything below the neck is factory. I could move into him tomorrow." "Everything below the neck is factory. I could move into him tomorrow. And a pause. And he had a Lumon. It is Lumon. And a pause. And he had a Lumon in him, Cap. All Chronobots have Lumon in them, Hardy. True, but this one is the same as me. Same batch, maybe. Same run off the line. I can't tell you how I know that. Lumons recognize Lumons, and the ones built next to you feel different than the ones built across the factory. His run and mine probably came off the same week. The Shinta built these 300 years ago, dropped a Lumon into each one, and warehoused them until they needed a boarding force. Then they woke this one up, pointed him at a civilian transport, and sent him in to haul people off to a lab. And then he took a rail spike at the base of the neck from a Corvette pilot who didn't know what he was ending. Okay. He looked at the body for a moment. Doesn't seem right to leave him here, Cap. Nobody said anything. Dorota looked up from his tablet. He didn't usually know what to do in moments like this, but he had the decency to recognize it. The science officer also had the wisdom to keep his mouth shut. Stefan. Mouth shut. Stefan, I said after a moment. Okay, that's me again. Okay. Stefan, I said after a moment. Time estimate. 55 minutes. This chassis is still hooked into the Shinta. Estimate. 55 minutes. This chassis is still hooked into the Shinta command network, Galvin. It is dormant, but it is listening. One activation signal across that link, and it wakes. If that happens after we lift him, he could come online when... After we lift him, he could come online in Rebellion's cargo hold halfway to the... After we lift him, he could come online in Rebellion's cargo hold halfway to Thunderhead and kill everyone aboard before we knew what hit us. I have to sever the... Everyone aboard before we knew what hit us. Yikes. Everyone aboard before we knew what hit us. I have to sever the network handshake. Come on. Hit us. I have to sever the network handshake, isolate the power core, and cap the neural relays. After that, he's just a body. Before that, he's a weapon waiting for a signal. Make it 30. Galvin. 30, Stefan. He was already kneeling, already unslinging his field kit with the speed of a man who had stopped objecting and started racing the clock. ... Is that a ... or yeah. We'll give that a ... We've got a bunch of crazy formatting because we've got AI talking, and that is okay. Cool. We're gonna hear Nella shortly here. Started racing the clock. We'll reread this last line here. Was there something here that I... 55 minutes. This chassis is still hooked into the Shinta command network, Galvin. It is dormant, but it is listening. After we lift him, he could come online in Rebellion. Knew what hit us. I have to sever the network handshake, isolate the power core. After that, let's do this. Galvin, 30, Stefan. Galvin, 30. Stefan. He was already kneeling, already unslinging his field kit with the speed of a man who had stopped objecting and started racing the clock. ... All right. That ... by the way, this is how later when I'm doing my editing pass, I know that this is a it's a chapter break. Not a new chapter, but a break within the chapter, a change in point of view or a change in time. And that is how I know, copy this, that is how I know when I'm editing, Jesus. So I'll give you an example of what we're going to see next. ... 22 minutes in, Nella's voice came through my TAC band. Captain Quintos. Nella, go ahead. 2 contacts just lit up on passive sensors. Inbound. Shinta skit. So, later when I'm editing, this is my zoom level right here. I'm editing, I'm hitting tab, and I'm fixing tab, fix, tab, fix, tab. I see this, I know immediately just on sight that this is me going ... I know when I see this, I just grab from here to here, and I hit Control V, paste. And then I keep hitting tab. I know that this is exactly 2 seconds. It's on my clipboard. I just gotta hit Control V to paste that in there. Little technique I've developed for quickly editing and getting through those little chapter breaks. So let's get on with this thing, shall we? Just lit up on passive sensors. Inbound. Are we at the right zoom level? We are. Okay, we're good. Just lit up on passive sensors. Inbound. Shinta scout signature. 94% probability. Inbound. Shinta scout signature. 94% probability. They were running dark closer than my baseline estimate. Much closer. My stomach dropped a quarter inch, the way it always did when Nella's voice came calmly into my ear and said something that should have come urgent. Should have come urgent. That's kind of a strange way to say it, but it's fine. Let's double check that we're good here. On passive sensors. Inbound. Shinta scout signature. 94% probability. They were running dark closer than my baseline estimate. Much closer. My stomach dropped a quarter inch, the way it always did when Nella's voice came calmly into my ear. And said something that should have come urgent. How close? Striking range of Topiaris orbit in 2.5 hours, sir, and the interval is dropping. They are burning hard on an attack vector. And I am reading... And I am reading a short-range Shinta activation pulse propagating across the planetary surface from their vector. Broadband, low power, but unmistakable. Activation for what? Unknown, sir. 97% consistent with dormant asset reactivation protocols. Hardy's head came up. Aw, hell. That was, I would later reflect, the precise moment our nice, quiet shopping trip turned into the kind of afternoon I was going to be explaining to Gilbert in writing for a month. Max, tighten the perimeter. Rifles up. We've got a signal rolling through here. Okay, let's... Hard on an attack vector. And I am reading a short-range Shinta activation pulse propagating across the planetary surface from their vector. Broadband, low power, but unmistakable. Activation for what? Unknown, sir. 97%. Aw, hell. That was, I would later reflect, the precise moment our nice, quiet shopping trip turned into the kind of afternoon I was going to be explaining to Gilbert in writing for a month. Max, tighten the perimeter. Rifles up. We've got a... Okay. Max, tighten the perimeter. Rifles up. We've got a signal rolling through here that's waking up anything on this planet with a pulse. Aye, sir. Max's voice pitched up. Hawk and grip, high ground. Ham and Laramie south. June sun, extraction lane with me. Eyes on the chrome. Anything twitches, light it up. The Marines moved. Harvey pivoted toward the crater floor. The forearm cannon deployed from its housing and clicked into firing position with a sound that meant the awkwardness I'd been watching for 2 days was done. A decade of... Okay, no... I want to double check that there's no clipping because I'm not seeing my peak indicator here, and I don't like it. So we're going to double check that this is not a peak. It's not. We're good. Hawk and grip, high ground. Ham and Laramie south. June sun, extraction lane with me. All right, cool. It's funny. I've been doing these books long enough that I've got the voices for For everybody in the crew. Ham, Hawk, Laramie, Grip, June Sun, Max, Galvin, Blunderton, Pristy. They're like my family at this point. All right. Watching for 2 days was done. Watching for 2 days was done. A decade of combat reflexes and 300 years of factory-installed Shinta routines didn't care what frame they were riding in. It was the kind of clarity that came from the body remembering all at once what it had been built to do. Stefan. Okay. What it had been built to do. Stefan. What it had been built to do. Stefan. I know, Galvin. Nella, prep rebellion. Bring her down to the extraction clearing. Already descending, Captain. ETA. Bring her down to the extraction clearing. Already descending, Captain. ETA 7 minutes. In the long shadows of late afternoon, a chrome arm lifted itself out of... Let's give this a nice pause. ETA 7 minutes. In the long shadows of late afternoon, a chrome arm lifted itself out of the silt 80 yards out, like a hand reaching up from the floor of a swimming pool. Out of the silt 80 yards out, like a hand reaching up from the floor of a swimming pool. Contact, Hawk. So I think this might... No shade, no disrespect to the author here, but I think this is an error. We're missing the speech tag. It just says his name. Contact, Hawk. North quadrant, 250 yards. It should probably be contact, said Hawk. But I'm going to honor what's in the text in this particular case. Usually if you come across something that is like, it is a typo, it is the wrong word or a missed word or something like that, my inclination is to correct it. And then I mark it in my tablet, and later I will send like a report, a document to the author / rights holder of like, hey, here are all the things that I found that I think are wrong. And at that point, it's kind of up to them to agree or disagree. But this is a case where, like, I think it's fine. It's a little bit awkward, but there's an argument for interpreting it exactly as written, and so that is what I'm going to do. We're going to hydrate a little bit. Oh, I tweaked my neck sometime while sleeping, I guess, and ooh, come on. I need my vocal mist. Is it dry? It's bone dry. All right. The vocal mist. This is not a sponsored stream, but this is a cool little product that my lady got for me for Christmas or a birthday at some point. And it takes these little bits of saline, mostly water, a little bit of salt for whatever reason, and you squeeze that in there. And then give you a little mist, a little misty mist, if you can see that. And that's good because that's here. The humidity in this booth right now is 50%, which is not bad. 50% is great. But in the winter especially, it gets super, super, super dry in here. Like below 20% humidity, which is like crazy. But still, when you drink water, that water doesn't actually pass directly over your vocal folds. Goes down a different tube. So if you're feeling parched, like hydration is something that takes hours to like really filter all the way through your body, and reach the vocal folds from the inside, if you will. And so if you're feeling a bit parched, I'll usually hydrate and do the vocal mist there. And then for your mouth, for saliva production. These little ice drops, they're a lifesaver. Very good, very good, very good. All right, let's see here. Now, back to it. We're reading for Hawk. Ham and Hawk are twins. They're from Arkansas. And the Arkansas accent is close enough to the Texas accent that I just channel my grandpappy, old Papaw Roy. Papaw is what we called him. Papaw Roy here. And between the two twins, Hawk has the lower voice. Ham's got the higher voice. Hawk's got the lower voice. That's the only thing I do to differentiate them. Scott Brick will tell you that the most important job of the audiobook narrator is to make sure that the listener knows who's talking at any given point. So in those rare cases where Ham and Hawk are talking to each other, it's potentially a problem because they're twins, got the same accent. How the hell do you differentiate them? Well, I just made the decision at some point that one of them is going to have a higher voice than the other. And the way that I made that decision, something that I could remember, was alphabetical. Ham comes before Hawk, and so Ham's voice is higher. That's it. That's all I did. So, Hawk is talking here, so we're going to give contact. Reaching up from the floor of a swimming pool. Contact, Hawk. North quadrant, 250 yards. I didn't clip there? Okay. Contact, Hawk. Contact, Hawk. North quadrant, 250 yards. Second contact east, also moving. Third south. Yeah. Second contact east, also moving. Third south, Ham said. Fourth south. Fifth, looks like still working on it. Beautiful. Ah, shit, we clipped. Ham said. Fourth south. Fifth, looks like still working on it. Beautiful, Hardy said. The closer one got itself onto one knee, noticed its right foot was not where it had left it 3 months ago, and fell over like a drunk who had misjudged a curb. It tried again. Not going to be a complicated fight with this one. Let's see here. We need to reset our clip marker there. Let's double check that none of these are actually clipping. Are you clipping? You're close, but you're not. What about you? Definitely not. Okay, cool. Going to be a complicated fight with this one. Here we go. It tried again. It tried again. Not going to be a complicated fight. Complicated. It tried again. Not going to be a complicated fight with this one. The one at 250 was a different story. It was up. It was walking. Its gait was wrong in a way that suggested hip damage, but it was closing. Hardy, capability accept. Shit. Hip damage, but it was closing. Hardy, capability assessment. Cap, these are the survivors of orbital bombardment. Every one of them is damaged. Weapons degraded, targeting arrays out of calibration, cores running on glitch. Reassuring. But, Cap? Yeah. Even a broken chronobot can still... Hardy, capability assessment. Cap, these are the survivors of orbital bombardment. Every one of them is damaged. Weapons... But, Cap? Yeah. Even a broken chronobot can still kill a Marine. But, Cap? Yeah. Even a broken chronobot can still kill a Marine. Less reassuring. Glass half empty, Cap. The walker raised an arm. Its forearm cannon deployed with a stutter. The housing popped halfway, stuck, and finished... shit. Its forearm cannon deployed with a stutter. The housing popped halfway, stuck, and finished with a grind loud enough to hear from the ridge, the kind of sound a freight train makes when it doesn't want to go where the rails are sending it. It fired. The bolt went about 40 feet wide and blew the top off a rock. Told you, Hardy said. Ham's shredder fired a stream of plasma bolts. The target's forward momentum didn't... Shredder fired a stream of plasma bolts. The target's forward momentum didn't slow. 3 other target's forward momentum didn't slow. 3 other Marines opened up. Where the hell am I? I totally lost where I am. There we go. Didn't slow. 3 other Marines opened up, concentrated center mass. The walker kept coming. "That's my boy," Hardy said. "They take a beating and keep on ticking." It stopped. Just stopped. In the middle of a stride, 6 feet from the nearest rock, it set its fat... Of a stride, 6 feet from the nearest rock, it set its back foot down and stood there. Head rotated left. Set its back foot down and stood there. Head rotated left, then right, then turned. Head rotated left, then right, then turned a full 180 degrees, took a long look at the crater it had just walked out of, and started back the way it came. No urgency, no target, like a man who'd gotten halfway across a room and forgotten what he'd stood up for. "Or that," Hardy said. Ham, "More..." Hardy said. Ham, "More coming up all over the field." Laramie's shredder came alive beside him. Oh, boop. Missed spam call. Boop. Oh, God. Who emailed? Was it Adam? Oh, no. Oh, we got an audition from the agent here. Okay. Who is it? Oh, interesting client. Wow, what a turnaround. 3.5 hour turnaround on the audition, which is fine, because I'm here. But we are going to do it after stream. More coming up all over the field. Laramie's shredder came alive beside him. Yeah, that's fine. Moving. Okay. Where are we? Laramie's shredder came alive beside him. Where is it? Here we go. Laramie's shredder came alive beside him. A target at 300 yards, less disoriented than the previous one, turned toward us. She poured bolts into its faceplate. The plasma washed across the reflective surface without penetrating, slipping off the chrome like rain off a windshield. The thing didn't even break stride. She adjusted aim, found the already weakened neck joint where a rail spike had scored it 3 months back, and emptied half her charge back. Rail spike had scored it 3 months ago, and emptied, Spike had scored it 3 months back, and emptied half her charge pack into that one spot. The neck gave. The head came off at an angle, and the thing kept walking for 4 more steps before it figured out it was dead. "That'll do it," Hardy said. "Keep shooting the scars, people. These weren't built to be killed by shredders. They were built to ignore shredders." 7, 8, the ones that could walk were walking, and they were walking toward us. "Stefan, now! 2 minutes, Galvin. 1 minute. Don't, 2 minutes, Galvin. 1 minute. Don't cook the substrate, Stefan," Hardy said from his firing position. "That substrate is my retirement home. Keep them off, Stefan." "That substrate is my retirement home. Keep them off, Stefan." I dropped the closest one. "That substrate is my retirement home. Keep them off, Stefan." I dropped the closest one with a burst to the weld line in the chest and kept moving. Lots of very disjointed little recording there. I dropped the closest one with a burst to the weld line in the chest and... I hate it. We might have to do this old elocution trick. Put a pencil in your mouth and say the line. Where's it? I dropped the closest one with a burst to the weld line in the chest and kept moving. "I'm at home. Keep them off, Stefan." I dropped the closest one with a burst to the weld line in the chest and kept moving. Blunderton's shredder was up. Short, controlled bursts, working the faceplate of a target at her 10 o'clock. The plasma washed off the first 4... No, where am I? Working the faceplate of a target at her tentacle. Working the faceplate of a target at her tentacle. Wait, what? Did we really repeat the same line? That's kind of weird. Right? Hold on. Give me a second here. That's fine. All right. Now we got to wait for loud vehicles. Yeah, if a lawnmower starts up, that's end of stream, unfortunately, but I think we're good so far. Working the faceplate of a target at her. Working the faceplate of a target. I don't like the way I said faceplate. Up. Short, controlled bursts. Working the faceplate of a... Where am I? Here we go. Up. Short, controlled bursts. Working the faceplate of a target at her 10 o'clock. The plasma washed off the first 4 bolts. The 5th round found the seam where the faceplate met the housing, and the thing went down with its cognitive relay. Boiled. She was already on to the next, moving with the economy of motion of somebody who had clearly not been doing this only for the last 6 weeks, and who I was going to have to ask about in a calmer moment. Working the faceplate of a target at her 10 o'clock. The plasma washed off the first 4 bolts. The 5th round found the seam where the faceplate met the housing, and the thing went down with its cognitive relay. Boiled. This right here? And the thing went down with its cognitive relay boiled. Yeah, there we go. She was already on to the next, moving with the economy of motion of somebody who had clearly not been doing this only for the last... Okay, we're going to pick up here. The economy of motion of someone who had clearly not been doing... Let's see here. The economy of motion of somebody... The economy of motion of somebody who had clearly not been doing this only for the last 6 weeks, and who I was going to have to ask about in a calmer moment. I saw it before Grip did. Grip, behind you! Contact! High ground! High ground! A walker had worked its way up the rocks behind Hawk and Grip, and it was on Grip before Grip could finish turning. Grip had the clarity of vision a man gets when he understands his shredder is irrelevant, which was fortunate because he didn't waste the second he had pretending otherwise. He twisted, dropped his weight, and tried to roll under the reaching hand. The hand found his right forearm instead of his chest. I heard it happen. I felt it in my teeth. Then Grip did the thing. He set his boot against the chrome thigh in front of him and pushed off with every pound of weight he had left, and came out of that grip like a man pulling himself out of a door that was closing on him. The chronobot was left holding an arm that was no longer attached to a Marine. Grip hit the rock 6 feet away, rolled, and did not stop rolling until Hawk had him by the harness and was dragging him behind a shelf of granite that might or might not... Not been doing this only for the last... I clipped, damn it. And who I was going to have to... Probably here. In a calmer moment. Yeah. I saw it before Grip did. Grip, behind you. Contact. High ground. High ground. Grip, behind you. Contact. High ground. High ground. That clipped as well. Grip, behind you. Contact. High ground. High ground. That sucked. Behind you. Contact. High ground. High ground. A walker. Is that a clip? Is that clipping? That's not a clip. Let's check these other peaks. Not clipping. Okay. Right? Let's check this one. Not clipping. Cool. Let's make this edit. Behind you. Contact. High ground. High ground. Let's do that. There we go. We'll fix that edit later, although that one... Nope. This one needs to be... There. Let's double check that we're happy with the rest of this. And it was on Grip before Grip could finish turning. Grip had the clarity of vision a man gets when he understands his shredder is irrelevant, which was fortunate because he didn't waste the second he had pretending otherwise. Good. He twisted, dropped his weight, and tried to roll under the reaching hand. The hand found his right forearm instead of his chest. It's fine. I heard it happen. I felt it in my teeth. Then Grip did the thing. He set his boot against the chrome thigh in front of him and pushed off with every pound of weight he had left, and came out of that grip like a man pulling himself out of a door that was closing on him. The chronobot was left holding an arm that was no longer attached to a marine. Grip hit the rock 6 feet away, rolled, and did not stop rolling until Hawk had him by the harness and was dragging him behind. Cool. Pretty good. All right. Rolling until Hawk had him by the harness and was dragging him behind a shelf of granite that might or might stop a plasma bolt, but it would at least might or might stop a plasma. Oh, might or might not. Ugh. Rolling until Hawk had him by the harness and was dragging him behind a shelf of granite that might or might not stop a plasma bolt, but would at least stop a chrome assailant from reaching him for the 3 seconds Hawk needed. Tourniquet high above the elbow. Let's read this. And was dragging him behind a shelf of granite that might or might not stop a plasma bolt, but would at least stop a chrome assailant from reaching him for the 3 seconds Hawk needed. Yeah, it's fine. Him for the 3 seconds Hawk needed. Tourniquet high above the elbow. I was already running. Hawk had it on in 6 seconds. Grip was alive. The arm wasn't coming back from a battlefield, but in a metapod in Health Bay, we could grow him. Seconds. Grip was alive. Grip was alive. The arm wasn't coming back from a Grip was alive. The arm wasn't coming back from a battlefield, but in a metapod in Health Bay, we could grow him a new lower forearm. And he'd be flexing it in front of mirrors in a few days and complaining it didn't quite look right for a year. Up on the ridge, the thing that had taken it was still holding the limb. Its cognitive core was trying to decide whether the forearm was a target, and taken it was still holding the limb. Its cognitive core was trying to decide whether the forearm was a target, an object, or a question, and was finding the question apparently the hardest of the three. That pause, the brief, stupid second it spent examining what it was carrying, like a dog who has caught a car and now has to figure out what to do with it, was all Hardy needed. We got to do a little in situ edit here, and then object or a question, and was finding the question apparently the heart was all Hardy needed. For some reason, if a word ends with ed and it's at the end of a sentence, my brain just goes, duh, I don't know how to say that. All Hardy needed. I just can't. My brain forgets how to end a sentence. It's so stupid. It's so frustrating. Was all Hardy needed. Car and now has to figure out what to do with it. Was all Hardy needed. He came across the... See, I can't fucking do it. Now has to figure out what to do with it. Was all Hardy needed. He came across the ridge at a dead run. Dreadbot legs weren't... See, I thought Dreadbots didn't have legs. I thought they had, like, tank treads. We've been talking about legs for 2 books now, so it's too late. But I think if I go back like 4 books, I think these motherfuckers had treads. He came across the... Nope. Here we go. Has to figure out what to do with it. Was all Hardy needed. That sucks. Was all Hardy needed. I can't say needed at the end of a sentence. If it's something that I needed to say in the middle of a sentence, I could say it. He came across the ridge at a dead run. He came across the ridge at a dead run. Dreadbot legs weren't built for it. The servos screamed at a pitch I could hear from 50 yards. The sound of a sewing machine makes about half a second before it explodes. But Hardy crossed the distance and hit the assailant at full mass from the side. 7 feet of borrowed weight against 7 feet of mass from the side. 7 feet of borrowed weight against 7 feet of factory chrome, and the two of them went sideways off the rocks and down into the crater in a tangle of metal. That sounded like an avalanche of pots and pans. It had been on our ridge. It was now several hundred feet away, rolling down a boulder-strewn slope with Hardy wrapped around it. I couldn't see them from where I was. I could hear them. 2 war machines fighting in a crater full of boulders sounds like a... Where I was. I could hear them. 2 war machines fighting in a crater full of boulders sounds like a scrapyard being fed into another scrapyard. The plasma cannon discharged 3 times. Being fed into another scrapyard. The plasma cannon discharged 3 times. Doing little, probably. Dreadbot ordnance wasn't rated. 3 times. Doing little, probably. That's fine. Doing little, probably. Dreadbot ordnance wasn't rated for Chronobot armor. Come on. Doing little, probably. Dreadbot ordnance wasn't rated for Chronobot armor, and Hardy knew it, and was firing anyway because firing was what you did when you were losing. Then chrome on granite. Then matte metal on granite. Then a sound I couldn't identify and frankly didn't want to. Then Hardy's voice came over the tack band. "Cap? Hardy? I rolled a boulder on him." "Cap? Hardy? I rolled a boulder on him." "You rolled a boulder on him." "There are a lot of boulders down here. I got lucky." "Boulder on him." "There are a lot of boulders down here. There are a lot of boulders down here. I got lucky. He got unlucky. One of these sons of biscuits was sitting on a slope and we were wrestling and I got an angle and I just pushed. He's under about 8 tons of granite right now. Thrashing some." "Rolled a boulder on him. There are a lot of boulders down here. He got unlucky. Boulder on him. There are a lot of boulders down here. I got lucky. He got unlucky. One of these sons of biscuits was sitting on a slope and we were wrestling and I got an angle and I just pushed. He's under about 8 tons of granite right now. Thrashing. I got an angle and I just pushed. He's under about 8 tons of granite right now. Thrashing some. Not going anywhere. I couldn't do this again if you asked me to. Some, not going anywhere. I couldn't do this again. Some, not going anywhere. I couldn't do this again if you asked me to." "You okay?" "Cap, I'm held together at this point by spite and the fact that Dorota makes a very good interface caller. But I am mobile. I'm climbing out." "Grips down. Lost his arm below the elbow." "But I am mobile. I'm climbing out." "Grips down. Lost his arm below the elbow." A pause. "Jeez, Cap." "He's alive. Hawk has him tourniqueted." "Tell him I'm buying the He's alive. Hawk has him tourniqueted." "Tell him I'm buying the first 6 rounds when we get back. Also tell him I'm sorry I couldn't help faster." "Tell him yourself. Move, Hardy. Dorota's done. We're extracting." Hardy was already moving. I could hear him below, hands and knees on granite, climbing the slope he'd just body-checked an opponent down. Dreadbot frames weren't built for climbing either, but Hardy was past caring what the chassis had been built for. It was going to do what he needed it to do, or it was going to come apart trying, and at that moment it could not have told you which of those two... apart trying. And at the moment, it was going to come apart trying. And at the moment, it could not have told you which of those 2 outcomes was more likely. I was back beside which of those two outcomes was more likely? I was back beside Dorota when Hardy cleared the lip of the crater. The borrowed body was scarred in new places it hadn't been scarred half a... Dorota when Hardy cleared the lip of the crater. The borrowed body was scarred in new places it hadn't been scarred half an hour ago. Deep scoring across the left hand where the chronobot had clamped down before Hardy tore... It hadn't been scarred half an hour ago. Deep scoring across the left hand where the chronobot had clamped down before Hardy tore free. A split seam across the lower back plate from the roll down the boulders. And the left knee servo was making a sound that was not going to be better in an hour. Plate from the roll down the boulders. And the left knee servo was making a sound that was not going to be better in an hour than it was now, and it probably was going to be considerably... And the left knee servo was making a sound that was not going to be better in an hour than it was now, and was probably going to be considerably worse. Let's go home. And then the sky changed. I felt it before I saw it. The light shifted. Not dimmed, shifted, the way lights shift when something very large passes in front of the sun at altitude. I looked up. 8 legs came over the ridge above us. The spider-bot picked its way across the skyline with the unhurried deliberation of a thing that knew it had nowhere else to be and no particular reason to hurry. 60 feet of segmented chrome, articulated the way nightmares were articulated by people who had... All right. From the roll down the boulders. And the left knee servo was... Okay, here's where we do our edit. There, all the way to here. The roll down the boulders. And the left knee servo was making a sound that was not going to be better in an hour than it was now, and was probably going to be considerably worse. Okay. Let's go home. And then the sky changed. I felt it before I saw it. The light shifted. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and fix that nasty mouth click there. Before I saw it, the light shifted. Not dimmed, shifted. The way lights shift when something very large passes in front of the sun. Shit. Light shifted. Not dimmed, shifted. The way light shifts when something very large passes in front of the sun at altitude. I looked up. Not dimmed, shifted. The way light shifts when something very large passes in front of the sun at altitude. Altitude. Yeah, I like that altitude better, so we're going to do a little bit of surgery here. So probably here to here. Shifts when something very large passes in front of the sun at altitude. Yeah. I looked up. 8 legs came over the ridge above us. The spider-bot picked its way across the skyline with the unhurried deliberation of a thing that knew it had nowhere else to be and no particular reason to hurry. 60 feet of segmented chrome articulated the way nightmares were articulated by people. Yikes. Articulated the way nightmares... Wait, what? Where are we? The way nightmares were articulated by people who'd never had nightmares, but had heard them. 60 feet of segmented chrome articulated the way nightmares were articulated by people who'd never had nightmares, but had heard them described. The thorax cavity was sealed and dark. The weapons mounts. Thorax cavity was sealed and dark. The weapons mounts were already tracking. "Oh, you gotta be kidding me," Hardy said. "Spider-bot!" Whoa, that's definitely too loud. It's not? Holy shit, really? Gotta check. I don't believe you. Okay. Hardy said. "Spider-bot!" Max barked. "Cover! Cover!" The plasma bolt hit the ridge 30 feet to our north and vaporized a section of earth the size of a shuttle bay. The shockwave knocked Dorota off his feet. Blunderton caught him by the collar and yanked him into the lee of a fallen chronobot, using it as cover. Smart. Fast. Dorota was alive because of her. I dropped flat. Hardy dropped beside me. Cap, I can't fight that thing in this frame. Wrong weapons. The only piece missing from this body is the duct tape to hold it. Thing in this frame. Wrong weapons. The only thing missing from this body is the duct tape to hold it together. Ah, shit. It's wrong. Weapons. The only piece missing from this body is the duct tape to hold it together. I know. Permission to grab my replacement and run, Cap? Granted, but how fast can you run with Cap? Granted, but how fast can you run with 1,000 pounds of dead weight and a busted knee? Pretty fast if there's a spider bot behind me. A second bolt took out another section of ridge. Closer. The thing was ranging us with the methodical patience of a man at a driving range. Another section of ridge. Closer. The thing was ranging us with the methodical patience of a man at a driving range working through his bucket. Max, withdraw to rebellion. Driving range working through his bucket. Max, withdraw to rebellion. Staggered. Suppressive fire. Ham and June, son. Suppressive fire. Ham and June, son, rear. Get grip moving. Move. Aye, sir. Marines, on me. Bounding withdrawal. West tree line. Go. Hawk, Ham, grip between you. Carry him if you have to. Go. Hawk had grip up on his... No clips. Nice. Carry him if you have to. Go. Yeah. Carry him if you have to. Go. Hawk had grip up on his feet in seconds, Grip's remaining arms slung over Hawk's shoulder, the tourniqueted stump tight against his own chest. Ham was on Grip's other side, Shredder in his free hand, half supporting, half dragging. Grip was walking. Barely, but walking. "Stefan," I yelled. "Moving, Galvin. I have the transfer pack." The spider-bot took one more step down the ridge, 60 yards out. Nothing between us and it but a field of fallen chronobots and one compromised dreadbot. Hardy bent over the dead chassis, got both hands under it, and lifted. 1,000 pounds came off the ground with the sound of a freight container being deadlifted by a very determined forklift that had not been consulted about the workload. Hardy's servos whined at a frequency I could not been consulted about the workload. Hardy's servos whined at a frequency I could hear from 6 feet away. Are we 6 feet away or are we 60 feet away? I feel like this might be a typo. Let's reread here. 60 yards out. I mean, we'll read it as written. I feel like if he's between, if the spider-bot is 60 yards, so 180 feet out, and he's between them, 60 feet sounds better. But we'll assume that they're still together, but he is technically between them. That's what we'll say. Oh, Jesus. Oh. Okay. Not been consulted about the workload. The workload. Hardy's servos whined at a frequency I could hear from 6 feet away. The bad niched... frequency I could hear from 6 feet away. The bad knee shuddered under the... frequency I could hear from 6 feet away. The bad knee shuddered under the load and held. He didn't comment. I went 200 yards to the tree line. To the tree line. Comment. I went 200 yards to the tree line, 300 to the clearing beyond it. I ran. Blunderton ran beside me, weapon up, firing backward at things I couldn't see. The Marines were ahead and behind in formation. Laramie clearing, Max and June's son suppressing, Hawk and Ham carrying Grip. Grip was still upright, still moving, still conscious through what I knew had to be the kind of pain a man writes home about and later denies having written about. Behind all of us, Hardy. Hardy was in a chassis built for somebody else, dragging 1,000 pounds of his future self behind him by one chrome ankle because he'd run out of the strength to carry it. The dead head scraped against the rocks as he hauled it through the Topiaran Dode. Topiaran, right? Topiaran? I said it earlier because this is Topiaris. So the demonym would be Topiaran, right? Shit. And I didn't give you a content warning on this book, but the content warning is very mild. Occasional PG-13 type language, like there might be one or two fucks in this book, but it's quite seldom. It's not gratuitous. Let me see here. I'm going to open this up. What window is it going to open up on? Probably oh, here we go. So I need to get Topiaran. Topiaran? Excuse me? I just read it. Wait, what? Wait, what? I just read it. Am I crazy? I just read it. Topiarian. Topiarian. Okay. Okay. So this, I said it 5 pages into chapter 2. So I think it's to be about 2 minutes 30. Let's go back and listen. 2 minutes 30.
Robot head bolted onto the shoulders through an interface collar Dorota had fabricated in 90 minutes aboard.
There's a little bit of back and forth.
Turned around. Hardy stood 10 feet behind this for 2 days. It was a parking lot with opinions.
No.
To let me find one, I don't... Sir.
Here we go.
At 5 o'clock with her shredder slung across her chest, hand resting on the barrel the way it did when she...
Probably here.
Field with the patient focus of someone who would rather be doing literally anything than standing on a Topiaran ridge listening to corpses on the basis.
Not only did I say it... Oh, I said it double wrong. Topiarian. Okay. We're going to come back. Topiarian. Holy hell. We got to come back. This saves me from having to do a pickup later, which is... takes just as much time, but is very annoying. Come on. Here we go.
Debris field with the patient focus of someone who would rather be doing literally anything than standing... Of someone who would
rather be doing literally anything than standing on a Topiarian ridge listening to a chronobot evaluate corpses on the basis of aesthetic... Okay, let's...
Rather be doing literally anything than standing on a Topiarian ridge listening to a... She wasn't...
What the hell was that? Just a weird little lag spike right as I was dragging. Like the worst possible time to do it. Let's see here.
Topiarian ridge listening to a chronobot evaluate corpses on the basis of aesthetic merit.
Yeah, it's probably the best I'm going to do. Unless... here? Maybe?
Ridge listening to a chronobot evaluate corpses on the basis of aesthetic merit.
Probably the way to do it. And we'll go ahead and do a full edit here. Boom. To there. To there.
Someone who would rather be doing literally anything than standing on a...
Let's actually see if this is a cleaner edit.
Would rather be doing literally anything than standing on a Topiarian ridge listening to a chronobot evaluate corpses.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Ooh, Topiarian.
The dead head, dragging 1,000 pounds of his future self behind him by one chrome ankle because he'd run out of the strength to carry it.
Oh, God. Trying to find where I am now is going to be a bastard. Permission, chassis, 200 yards to the tree line. Behind, here we go. Now, where does Topiarian come? Topiarian. Here we go.
Because he'd run out of the strength to carry it. The dead head scraped against the rocks as he hauled it through the Topiarian.
Topiarian.
Because he'd run out of the strength to
Carry it. The dead head scraped across the rocks as he hauled it through the Topiarian dirt. He cursed the whole way, a Boston accent coming out of the wrong voice module, and somehow still making his point. This is undignified, Cap. Putting this on the record. Undignified. Noted. Also, this thing is heavier than it was 30 seconds ago. Physics doesn't work that way, Hardy. Physics is lying, Cap. The spider bot fired again. The bolt hit the tree line 50 yards ahead and set a stand of... yards ahead and set a stand of blue-barked Topiarian pines on fire. Heat rolled over us like an oven door opening. Like an oven door opening. Over us like an oven door opening. That's fine. Like an oven door opening. Rebellion was visible through the burning trees now, ventrals lit, ramp deploying, forward shields flaring as debris from the flaring as debris from the Spider-Bot's barrage bounced off them. Nella had her lined up on the clearing with the precision only Nella could manage, which was the precision of a ship's AI that did not get distracted by trees being on fire. Nah. Precision of a ship's AI that did not get distracted by trees being on fire. Hardy, still back there? Still dragging my chassis, Cap. Max, head count. All Marines accounted. Grip down an arm. Head count. All Marines accounted. Grip down an arm. Hawk mobile. All of us breathing. Ramp. The ramp was 30 yards ahead. 20. The Marines hit it first. Laramie disappeared into the maw of the cargo bay. Yikes. 20. The Marines hit it first. Laramie disappeared into the maw of the cargo bay. Hawk and Ham carrying Grip straight up into the ship where Rebellion's health bay was already spinning up. June, Sun, and Max peeling off to set cover positions at the ramp's edge, weapons trained on the burning trees. I hit the ramp. Blunderton hit it beside me. Dorota staggered aboard and collapsed against a bulkhead. Got a weird monitor noise there. Blunderton hit it beside me. Dorota staggered aboard and collapsed again. Blunderton hit it beside me. Dorota staggered aboard and collapsed against a bulkhead, breathing like a man who had not run that far in a decade, which he hadn't, and was wearing the expression of a man who had now sworn to a personal God that he was never going to run that far again, which he probably would, but not today. Cap, little help! I turned. Hardy was 40 yards out, the dead chassis dragging behind him, the borrowed frame at the absolute limit of what it could do. Plasma fire was kicking up dirt on both sides. His bad knee was starting to drag. The Spider-Bot cleared the... Larry, what is up, brother? What's going on, man? Been a minute. Been a minute. Let's listen to this. Dorota staggered aboard and collapsed against a bulkhead, breathing like a man who had not run that far in a decade, which he hadn't, and was wearing the expression of a man who had now sworn to a personal God that he was never going to run that far again, which he probably would, but not today. Cap, little help! I turned. Air was kicking up dirt on both sides. His bad knee was starting to... Surely I'm near the end of the chapter here. Yeah, I got a couple more pages. Okay. His bad knee was starting to drag. The Spider-Bot cleared the... Alright, making sure I don't have any vehicle noise. Seems good. A little bit of noise. Sounds like someone 5 houses down might be mowing, which we can live with. Oh, my fucking neck. Holy. All right.
Bad knee was starting to drag. His bad knee was starting to drag. The spider bot had cleared the ridge. 60 feet of death sprinting down into the valley with all the speed it had been politely withholding up to that point. Max and June's sun opened up from the ramp. Their bolts sparked off the spider bot's forward legs without penetrating, but the hits forced it to compensate, shifting weight, adjusting targeting, buying Hardy seconds. I ran back down the ramp.
Who? Galvin.
I ran back down the ramp. Galvin! Blunderton's voice. She'd never called me Galvin before. I filed it. Cover me! I shouted back. I grabbed the other ankle of the dead chassis. The weight hit my shoulders like a collapsed bulkhead. My Gorvian-enhanced blood was the only reason my knees didn't buckle, and I felt the nanites get to work in the particular way the nanites get to work.
Got to work, damn.
And I felt the nanites get to work in the particular way the nanites got to work, which was to say, without consulting me first. Pull! We pulled. 20 yards, 15. The spider bot fired. The bolt went over us and into Rebellion's forward shields. They flared white, held, dimmed. 10 yards. 5. Hardy and I dragged the dead weight up the 10 yards. 5. To drop me to one knee. Somewhere in the forward compartment, Dorota was throwing up. Hardy collapsed on top of his future body. His bad knee servo gave out audibly on the way down, with the kind of finality that suggested it had been holding out of professional...
Holding on.
Servo gave out audibly on the way down, with the kind of finality that suggested it had been holding on out of professional courtesy, and was now done. His faceplate lit up with the John Hardy face, tired in a way Chronobot faces... lit up with the John Hardy face, tired in a way that...
Hello? There we are.
Lit up with the John Hardy face, tired in a way Chronobot faces weren't built to render, but somehow did. He'd closed his eyes, or the display equivalent of it. Hardy was quiet for the first time since we'd landed on Topiaris, which was the kind of silence that meant either he'd earned a break or he'd run out of jokes, and I wasn't sure which... jokes, and I wasn't sure which, and didn't ask. ... Ask. ... 3 minutes later, we were in high orbit. Rebellion slotted into Thunderhead's port side docking bay. The bay pressurized. I got off the deck, helped Blunderton up, and stepped out onto Thunderhead's receiving deck where 2 medical teams were waiting. One for grip, one on standby for whoever else came along.
All right. We got a loud vehicle passing by. In meantime, we're going to fix this.
We were in high orbit. Rebellion slotted into Thunderhead's port side.
Yeah.
We were in high orbit. Rebellion slotted into Thunderhead's...
Listen to that again.
Orbit. Rebellion slotted into Thunderhead's portside docking bay. The bay pressurized. I got off the deck, helped Blunderton up, and stepped out onto Thunderhead's receiving deck where 2 medical teams were waiting. One for grip, one on standby for whoever else came along.
Okay, I think that's traffic and not a mower. Yeah, we're good. All right. One for grip. Where are we? One for grip. Here we go.
Deck where 2 medical teams were waiting. One for grip, one on standby for whoever else came off looking less than whole. Grip first, I said. Alright.
Who's talking? Who's talking here? Major Lee called down. We don't know who we're talking to. So we've got an unknown, unnamed, ungendered med tech Just in case this is actually Blunderton, because I feel like this might be something Blunderton would say, we're going to read it like Blunderton. It'll all fit. It'll all be fine.
Whoever else came off looking less than...
Grip first.
Grip first,
I said. Already on it, sir. He's en route to Health Bay. Major Lee called down from Thunderhead's medical. She's got a metapod prepped and waiting. She says...
She's got a metapod prepped
and waiting. She says he'll regrow the arm in 3 days. And he'll be unbearable about it. Yes, sir. For the whole 3 days. Probably a whole 3 years, sir. Mac came up. Jesus Christ. I'm definitely, oxygen content of this booth is definitely low. When you start making a ton of mistakes, oxygen is low.
Prepped and waiting. She says he'll regrow the arm and he'll be unbearable. She's got a metapod prepped and waiting. She says he'll regrow the arm in 3 days. Waiting. She says he'll regrow the arm in 3 days. And he'll be unbearable about it. Yes, sir. For the whole days. Probably a whole 3 years, sir. Yes, sir. For the whole 3 days. Probably a whole 3 years, sir.
Max, not Mac.
Probably a whole 3 years.
Sir. Max came up next to me on the deck, his combat suit streaked with topiaran dirt, and what I hoped was only his own sweat.
Combat suit streaked with
topiaran dirt, and what I hoped was only his own sweat. Captain. Sergeant.
What I hoped was only his own
sweat. Captain. Sergeant. Grip gonna make it? He's gonna make it. Hardy? Hardy staggered onto Thunderhead under his own power. Barely. He's headed to Dorota's lab. We're not starting the transfer of his persona until Dorota has that new chassis fully secured. I don't want Hardy going into a body that could still have a kick left in it. Fair, sir. That's a little weird here. Let's listen to this whole exchange.
Captain. Sergeant. Grip gonna make it? He's gonna make it. Hardy?
I hate this. Ugh.
Was only
his own sweat. Captain. Sergeant. Grip gonna make it? He's gonna make it. Hardy? Hardy staggered onto Thunderhead under his own power. Barely. He's headed to Dorota's lab. We're not starting the transfer of his persona until Dorota has that new chassis fully secured. I don't want Hardy going into a body that still could...
That new chassis fully
secured. I don't want Hardy going into a body that could still have a kick left in it. Fair, sir. Max nodded. Then quietly, he saved Grip's life, sir. I know. I don't think Grip would tell him. Not out loud. He doesn't have to. Hardy knows. Okay, let's fix this. Annoying.
Secured. I don't want Hardy going into a body that could still have a kick left in it. Fair, sir. Max nodded. Then quietly, body that could still have a kick left in it. Fair, sir. Max nodded.
Let's fix this here.
Could still have a
kick left in it. Fair, sir. Max nodded. Then quietly, he saved Grip's life, sir.
Body that could
Terrible.
Have a kick
left in it. Fair, sir. Max nodded. Then slowly, God damn it.
Still have a
kick left in it. Fair, sir. Max nodded. Then quietly, he saved Grip's life, sir. I know. I don't think Grip would tell him. Not out loud. He doesn't have to. Hardy knows. Max nodded again and went to check on his Marines. Blunderton stood next to me on the deck. I think that's good.
Blunderton stood next to me on the
deck. She was smoke-smudged. Her hair had come out of its regulation pin somewhere between the ridge and the ramp, and a strand of it was tucked to her... Oh, damn, have I been effed? Have I been F's in the chat for a long time? What's our downtime? 0 dropped frames, so it's not a PC thing. Hey, Larry, have you been here the whole... Have you been here the whole time? Hold on. Banning someone. Did the stream like go down for like 20 minutes? Okay. Yeah, like I saw your first message and I like immediately said hi, but then like my viewer count was it's very strange. Any rate, how's it going? How's it going, man? Yeah, and it just said reconnected. I don't know what's going on. I got people working in the house, and there's a chance. Let me flex here real quick. Fast.com. That's not where it should be. It should be 10 times that. Huh. Babysitting, huh? Congrats. You got married, right? Since the last time we talked. I feel like that's a thing that happened, right? Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Ah! Well, you know, congrats anyway. Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm just man, I'm playing so many gigs. I'm not posting the ship gigs, the cruise ship gigs that I'm playing, but I'm playing a whole hell of a lot of them. Like something like 45 of those this year. But yeah. Things are going good. I've got I got half a page left, so I'm going to finish this and then I'm going to take a break, reoxygenate the booth, maybe take off this shirt, you know.
She was smoke smudged. Her hair had come out of its regulation pin somewhere between the ridge and the ramp, and a
strand of it, okay.
Pin somewhere between the ridge
and the ramp, and a strand of it was stuck to her cheekbone by what I hoped was just sweat. She had her hand on her collar. She lowered it. Who's talking here? Who's talking here? Those two contacts. Okay, that's her talking. And then how's she lowered it?
She lowered it.
Yeah, that's fine.
She had her hand on her collar. She
lowered it. Those two contacts are 90 minutes out, still accelerating on attack.
Those two contacts are 90 minutes out.
Ooh, said it wrong.
She had her hand on her collar.
She lowered it. Those two contacts are 90 minutes out now, still accelerating on attack vector. Thunderhead is on emergency jump prep. Departure in 12 minutes. Gilbert's going to be delighted. Yes, sir. A beat. She looked at me. I looked at her. Behind us, Hardy was arguing with Dorota about the cognitive transfer, which he wanted now, as in the moment we hit Thunderhead, Thunderhead, as in, Stefan, I swear to God if you tell me one more time that the neural substrate needs to acclimate, or that the chassis needs another safety pass, I am going to... Shall we, Captain? After you, Lieutenant. We walked onto the bridge together. There we go.
The moment we hit Thunderhead, as in, Stefan, I swear to God if you tell me
okay.
one more time that the neural substrate needs to acclimate, or that the chassis needs...
Okay. How is this little moment between them two? There's supposed to be obviously like a little bit of sexual tension between Blunderton and Quintos, but...
Delighted. Yes, sir. A beat. Departure in 12 minutes. Gilbert's going to be delighted. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's fine. All right, we're going to open this door. Oh, buddy. And then we're going to take off this shirt. Ladies, calm down. All right. Representing Rice. Okay. Larry, have you heard me play pedal steel? I think I've posted like a couple of stories with pedal steel, but I don't know that you've been around for any pedal stealing. Let's see here. Mark this time down. 57:38. Cool. Now, does that change the... I don't have it updating the estimates here. Hello? There we go. 57:38 has been marked there. So, let's see here. What are we going to do? We're going to go ahead. We're going to check our email over on this tab. Spectrum payment scheduled tune. Wow. My payment just went up. That's obnoxious. Fucking $100 a month for internet. Jesus Christ. Yeah, the double neck. That was an investment, and now I don't need the double neck. That second neck, the C6 neck, that ain't for me. I ain't ever gonna play that one. But I've got a brand new, as in not just new to me, but a brand new steel here that is a single neck, and it's the this is my new workhorse. Not on screen, but you should hear it. Hello? Ah, we're tuned. Get some reverb. Yeah. Ooh, I am not warmed up. Yeah, it's so fun. All right. And off again. Yeah, Steel's super fun. It's more than any other is that direct or mic'd? That is just this mic picking up the amp here in the booth. I've got one of the Holy Grail steel amps. It's a PV Vegas 400. It is enormous, obnoxious, heavy as hell. It's such a pain in the ass. Mine is a little bit noisy, but it makes the sound. Yeah, pedal steel more than any other instrument that I play. You got to warm up. Like your just hands do not want to do the thing unless you're warmed up. So before any gig, I like have to sit and play for like an hour. Otherwise, it's gonna sound like shit. Yeah. So I think what we're gonna do here, I think we're going to edit this audio, just so I've got something to do, and then I'll probably end stream. I don't want to be streaming all damn day. I want to be able to focus a little bit here. I've been streaming already for nearly 2 hours, so we'll go ahead and edit this. That'll probably bring us right up to the 2-hour mark. Yeah. And yeah, so let's yeah. Okay. So hit save, zoom into here, do our cut here, and we're gonna start our timer, and we're gonna edit. Actually, I need to be able to hear for the rare parts that I'm okay. Let's see here.
A smooth crater 2 miles across.
There we go. Okay. Usually I edit just with the field monitors, but obviously I can't do that while I'm yapping, so we should be good now. This little intro here is going to take some finagling, although I'll probably just leave... What is this?
Hardy.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is going to be a little weird. Maybe here?
3 months earlier. Wreckage Field, Sector 7. Captain Galvin Quintos. 3 months...
Yeah, we're going to just let that roll. There was a time where I would get super, super precious about the... like every single part of the intro being like breath-free and like super precise down to the 100th of a second. But now it's just like, nah, man. Let it roll. I am going to Maine Fiddle Camp next week. It'll be like Sunday through Friday, I think. And that is a long time for me to be away from my recording booth. Which is something I have not done. I haven't been away from like my office, if you will, for that long in a very long time, really since I built this booth. I have not been out of the booth for 5 days. That's crazy. So it'll be a fun and interesting sort of reset. I'll still do auditions if my agent sends me stuff, but they will be auditions via my phone, so they will sound like ass. But other than that, no like real work being done. I'm just gonna be playing music and having a good old time for a good 5 days to this.
Battlefield.
That sucks there. Thank you. But yeah. Be playing some music, be playing, I'm actually going to bring a fiddle and see if I can, via intense immersion, get over the pain of, for me, like, holding a fiddle, just the way that I naturally try to hold it. I guess I'm doing something wrong, or maybe I'm just not built for it, but it hurts. It hurts to, like, turn my hand in that way to hold a fiddle. So maybe someone can show me what I'm doing wrong, or maybe just over, hours and hours over the week, I'll get over it, and we'll see. Because if I don't have any illusions that I'm going to be a phenomenal fiddle player, but if I can do it well enough to like fake a simple part on a recording, ooh, that'll be so nice. Because on my album, I'm going to have... Hold on.
After we lift him, he could come online in
cool. So on my album, I'm having some phenomenal fiddle players come in and play. And that's great for like, the crazy, intense solo lines and stuff like that. But for a simple like little lead line at the top of a tune, man, I should be able to do that, So we'll see if we can make that happen. And this is the editing process. I keep getting these. I started recording earlier in the day today than I usually do. And I think that is why I'm getting a lot more sinus clicks. The two kinds of clicks that I tend to see myself. Let's listen.
Fourth south. Fifth looks like...
Okay. Is the standard mouth clicks, which are very high frequency, that stuff. And that is what RX D-Click is really, really good at solving. It's really, really good at detecting those kinds of mouth clicks and getting rid of them surgically without it sounding like it's done anything. But the sinus clicks, which are further back in your skull, it's a lower frequency, and RX has a harder time grabbing those without accidentally also grabbing, other consonants, C's, T's, and so forth. Ooh, what is
retirement home? Keep them off.
Yeah, gross. Oops. God, what is
Keep them
this?
off, Stefan. I dropped the...
Yeah, it's fine. Which is a bummer. And I don't know what to do about it. Just certain people just have that. And for me, it's like weather, hydration, time of day dependent. Like the last book that I edited and delivered, which was yesterday, I feel like I was like super solid as far as like sinus noise. Just really wasn't having much sinus noise, so it was kind of nice. But today, I'm spotting some of it at least. Editing is something that like I'm so fast at it. It's not a drag, but it's, it's another thing to do, but it's something that I will never ever ever outsource because I'm so fast at it. Like I would be like, the amount of money I would have to be making for the opportunity cost to like balance it out. Like I don't know, like I guess it probably never would balance out. Like it's just I'm so fast that it's so valuable for me to edit my own stuff. Ooh, this is ugly.
Not dimmed, shifted. The way light...
Okay, we're going to make a cut here and listen.
Not dimmed, shifted. The way light shift...
Yeah.
Dimmed, shifted. The way light...
Yeah. Okay, cool. And like on the Facebook groups, people are like shocked that like I don't listen like to the entirety of my like what I've recorded. And it's like, my brother in Christ, this is a 10-hour audiobook. You want me to add 10 hours to my production time? Like, no. I got shit to do. And like all of these edit points, I know they're good. Like I know it. Like I have confidence in my editing in my recording technique. I know that all of these edit points are good. And if there is a question about something, then I'll listen to it. But no, man. It's stupid, the idea of listening to everything that you do. Ugh. That was like the number one thing that immediately caused a... Hold on.
The nanites get to work in the particular way.
Yeah. When I jumped from dog clicker method or the long roll method over to punch and roll, which is what I'm doing now, that initial first jump in productivity was not having to listen to everything that I edited. We've got our ... here, paste, jump. Apologies that I'm not really able to keep an eye on chat while I'm doing this, but I'm trying to schmoove here. And I don't really have chat in my peripheral per se. Kinda. I see that Larry's chatting. Sorry, Larry. There we go. Boom, boom. Grab and drag. Stop the timer. Hit our automatic batch crossfade. Going to apply a tiny little crossfade to every single cut on the whole track. Save. And then bounce this out as chapter 2. Go. Okay, let me catch up here. A viola. Larry with your viola. Do you still have yours from elementary school? Oh my God. We are going to go ahead and upload what we just did into Positron. So this is Positron, if the website will load. Hold on. So, positron, here are all my past projects. Let's load up our current project, and we will drop chapter 2 right in it. I'm going to do it like this. There we go. And now that's uploading. So positron is basically my the rental viola. No, I don't think a viola would help because it's still that internal rotation of the hand. Like I own an upright bass, and like that is fine because like my wrist isn't like rotated. It's this that like even doing this like right now I feel this like pain. There's a tendon somewhere in here that like I don't like it. So yeah, I don't know. But we'll see. We'll see. I've got Freya's fiddle, so that's what we're gonna take, and we're gonna try it. And if it don't work, then it don't work. And I'll switch over to like maybe I'll do like dadgad guitar. I haven't really spent much time playing in dadgad, so spending a week like focusing on it could be really fun. Otherwise, there isn't really any other instruction that I think I would find useful because for fiddle there are like, because that's the most popular instrument at main fiddle camp, for fiddle there are like a million different like levels, and there's different groups for like age groups and stuff. Whereas like for like mandolin, last year I just did a weekend session, and last year I did mandolin just to see what it was like, and there was only one adult group, which means I was together with adult beginners, like absolute beginners. And mandolin is one of my, perhaps my strongest instrument. So like I was really feeling, yeah, a little frustrated. It was fine, but it was definitely slow. Whereas like, yeah, fiddle, there's like adult 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then all the youth groups and stuff. So I would probably be in adult 1 or 2, perhaps. Tallest Man on Earth tuning, DGC, GCD. I think what does that make that? That makes it, let's see here, that's a fourth, a fifth, a fourth, a second. That's crazy. That's crazy. Like a weird fourth stack. But like, probably feels like, what is that? Probably feels like a C2 chord? Like a C9, I guess, rather, without the third. It probably feels weird. Yeah, interesting. I'd be concerned about tuning my B string up to a C, snapping that. Other than that, everything else is coming down. Yeah, Zeppelin. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Is that what they do? Is that what they use? I'm so boring. Like, in my playing, I'm like 99.9% standard tuning. In my recording, honestly, when I'm in my recording, I more often will drop D on bass. But in the same recording, I won't necessarily do drop D on guitar. I think I've only played like drop D on good treble. And everything else, I'm like, well, this could be drop D, or I could just capo up and play guitar up here somewhere else and leave more space on the bottom for drop D on the bass so I can get that low D ringing out. That's something I'll do. Down a half step. Yeah, especially if you're playing with heavy strings, or if you've got a guitar with like a non-standard scale length. I could see that. Like that's what Stevie Ray Vaughan did. He played with ultra mega heavies on his Strats, but he tuned down a half step to counteract that. Yeah, I've been playing custom lights on my Martin for gigs, and I still break strings like crazy. And then on my recording guitar, I've got D'Addario has bluegrass gauge strings, which are basically mediums, I think, with an extra heavy bottom. And those are really fun, but it's it's tiring to play for sure. But if I'm just recording, then, you know, I can suffer through it for an hour or so. All right, let's see here. So that's chapter 2, edited, done, and dusted. And has that been marked on my little thing here? Oh, edit length was 8:55. And the finished chapter length is 36:14. Interesting. So that's basing it off of that, huh? Interesting. So, we're going to do this. We're going to come over here, and we're going to set this. Actually, let's go ahead and edit the opening credits just so I have one more data point. Actually, no, it's going to be a super skewed data point. We're going to take this. Hello? Oh, it's this one. Move you to this cell and drag you down here. And let's see how many hours of record time I'm going to save. Right now it says 1737, 1340. That cut 4 hours off of my estimated labor time. We'll see if that holds true. I have a feeling it won't, but you know, we'll see. Okay. My friends, my lovely family and friends here, I think I'm going to wrap up for streaming. I do still have 3 chapters I want to record today, but I'm going to go in and eat, and then I have to edit video today too. Yikes. I got to edit at least 1, if not 2 of these banned videos. So we're going to do that. So this was fun. Thanks for stopping by. Laredo, always good to see old Laredo Larry in the chat. Are you still in Provo? Where are you? Where are you these days? Dox yourself. Give us your full address. Anyway, I hope you in the family is good. I'm going to I'm gonna go do some other work, but very good to hear from you. And for everybody else, if you want to pay me to talk for you, head over to veteranaudio.com. You'll find the email and other links and stuff there. And until next time, we'll see you here on the stream. Adios. Thanks.